Episode 161. This week we're talking about teaching dogs a signal that tells us ready or not ready. Why can that be helpful and why does it sound so crazy to us as groomers? Find out this week. You're listening to the Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast. I'm Chrissy Neumeyer-Smith. I'm a certified professional groomer, a certified behavior consultant for canines, a grooming instructor at Whole Pet Grooming Academy, where I also teach my online program, Master Groomer Behavior Specialist, and I'm the owner of Happy Critters in Nashua, New Hampshire. And this, my friends and colleagues, is the podcast where grooming and training meet. I want to start off with an example. And this example pops up from time to time on Facebook grooming groups. It's a pretty good example of some dog that's at a halfway point. They are not yet finished being trained. They're someplace in the middle, and it's definitely not the finished behavior. But the discussion goes a little something like this. The groomer is frustrated by an owner who is asking for a groomer to watch for eye contact and only continue if the dog is looking at them. You might have seen this one, you might have heard this one. Now, as a groomer, these kind of things make us super frustrated because we ask questions like, how do they expect us to get anything done? Do they think we just gaze into their puppy's eyes all day? How am I supposed to groom a dog while making eye contact? Truly, groomers, I feel for you. I understand why it sounds so ridiculous from the point of view of a groomer, okay? Now, as a trainer, when I'm wearing my trainer hat, we get frustrated as trainers too, because we wonder, well, if groomers want dogs to be good, they have to give us a chance to teach them to be good, right? We ask questions like, what do they think we do? Wave a magic wand and the dog is perfect for grooming every 6 weeks? Just do the same exact thing that they've always done, and the problem is with the trainer and the owner? They're just going to fix it for you? You're just going to continue business as usual? How am I supposed to teach this dog that it's safe if the groomer isn't helping? And truly, trainers, I feel for you. I understand why it sounds ridiculous from a training point of view also. We talk about the trainers and we talk about the groomers, but I'll tell you what, it's frustrating for owners too. Owners, they want their dogs to be good for grooming. They're trying to work on it, and they're finding resistance and sometimes even ridicule. Now, as an owner, it's important to me, when I own dogs, that the people who handle my pets aren't undermining my training. All right, that's an important concern for me. Now, I think that most of our owners feel that way too. So, it's important that our concerns are being met when we're the owners. So why not from the groomers, from the trainers? So let's talk about how all of this kind of comes together. Now, I want to chat about this issue about asking a groomer to watch for eye contact and only continue if the dog is looking at them. That was the original idea as an example of a training procedure that is not yet the finished behavior. Because what they're looking for is what's called a start button behavior. Now, a trainer is going to think that's totally reasonable. An owner might think that's totally reasonable, but what they don't necessarily understand is that we as groomers are going to need to look at a dog. We can't just be looking at their eyes while we're also using our tools. But what does a start button behavior mean? What does that mean? It means that the dog is able to indicate when they're ready and when they're not ready by giving eye contact or touching a nose target or holding their chin on a chin target. These are pretty common examples that we see in dog training that are really pretty much designed for veterinary care, for animals in zoos. They can be very useful. They can be very, very helpful. But the idea is the dog does this particular behavior to indicate that they are ready for you to continue. So in the case of nose targeting, they're touching their nose against something, and that means, yep, I'm ready. Go ahead. You can do it. When they remove their nose from that touch, that means I'm not ready anymore. Please stop. Okay, it's a ready, not ready. Start button. You can start, you can't start. Makes perfect sense from a trainer point of view. And there are really good reasons to do that. Now, we'll talk about, it's only one version of a start button, that eye contact or nose targeting or chin targeting. We will talk about a better version of a start button for grooming in the second part. But for now, I really want to talk about why it's important or helpful to have a ready or not ready signal, a start button signal. So I find that the simple answer is that the cause of the behavior issue that we see in grooming and in vet visits is the dog is indicating that they're not ready, but we're pushing them or forcing them through it anyway. And often with the idea that this dog will learn that it didn't hurt, and eventually they'll be fine for it. And you know what? For some dogs that works. For others, being pushed and forced is the scary part. It's not about if it hurt or not. It's about trust. And a ready or not ready signal, a start button signal, can restore trust because the dog can learn how to let us do the stuff and things that we want them to do or that we need to do. So I want you to think about ready or not ready can be a piece of information that we can teach a dog to do. Now, when we teach them a start button behavior, and we are willing to follow the rules, right? If we're willing to say, okay, you indicated you're not ready, I'm going to back off. We can restore some trust and then build back to the thing that we need to do. Keep in mind, and I know sometimes this one's a hard pill to swallow. Keep in mind, any dog of any size can make themselves totally untouchable. Keep that in mind. If they're just fighting with you a little bit, it's because they're choosing to just be a little bit resistant. If we spend time teaching them there's a way to do that that is nice and safe, and you don't have to use your teeth, and you don't have to scream, and you don't have to twirl around, and you don't have to try to jump off the table, the purpose is to help them understand that, oh, wait, I can express I'm not ready and not do anything dangerous or unsafe, and you guys will listen, and maybe I can learn that this is safe and it's not scary. So it's part of a larger process. So back to the original statement of, I need someone who's going to be looking at his eyes, and if he doesn't maintain eye contact, to stop. That would work if you had more than one person. It does require two people, and that is why groomers are frustrated. We don't necessarily have another person. We do not have two people available. And I want you to think, because trainers, hopefully you guys are listening to this too. Many groomers, if we know ahead of time the why and the how, are willing to do it. But keep in mind, it's going to require some special scheduling. It's going to require a second person. And you might be thinking, well, the owner can do that. But a lot of grooming shops have policies about owners not being in the grooming room. And for good reason, because there are other dogs there too. There are some safety concerns with that. So this is going to take some special scheduling. This is not something you just drop off at 9 o'clock in the morning and say, oh, and by the way, I need a second person who's going to be watching his cute little eyes and telling him he's a good boy. It's going to take some scheduling. And additionally, I need you to think about this too. If you're a trainer, if you're an owner, two people doing a one-person job is double the cost. We are running a business, right? So if you need two people on that dog, they can accommodate that if they choose to. But I want to throw this out here before we get into the second part. Also think about this. Not every groomer wants to work behavior cases. Not every groomer wants to step back from grooming and be a dog trainer. Now, many of us do. Many of us like it. Many of us enjoy the challenge and enjoy seeing dogs change before our eyes. But a lot of groomers are like, just bring him back when he can handle it. And that's their right. So they're frustrated because they just want the dog to be good. Now, in the next part, we're going to talk about some start button behaviors that are appropriate for dog grooming, that are useful for dog grooming, that dog groomers can do, and that can be very, very helpful. If you're enjoying this podcast, please remember to subscribe so that you don't miss any episodes, and tell all of your friends. Now that we've talked about what some of the frustrations are, groomers, I want you to know that there are some ways to have a start button behavior. Trainers, I want you to listen in because there are some start button behaviors that work beautifully with dog grooming. And let me tell you why. So, what we need is a start button behavior, a way for a dog to say, I'm not ready. I'm ready or I'm not ready. We need a way for them to indicate that is safe, that it can be noticed by the person who's grooming them. Most importantly, it has to be a one person thing. So, I want to give an example here. If I am a groomer and I am working on brushing a tail, can I possibly figure out if a dog has their nose on a nose target? No, I cannot. Can I see if their chin is still resting on a chin target? Nope, I can't. Can I tell if they're still licking their lick mat, if they're eating food? I really cannot. I'm looking at a tail. I have a tail in my hand and I'm use a brush in my other hand, right? I cannot see anything about what their head is doing. Now, if I have a second person there, and many groomers are willing to do that, I think if we plan it out ahead of time, you would be surprised how many groomers are like, okay, tell me how it works, how it happens, why it's good for me. Okay, I can try to accommodate that. But otherwise, we're like, I can't get this tail brushed out if I have to watch this dog's head. So think about that. We need something that we can do while we have our eyes on a different part of the dog and our hands on the dog. Now, the start button behavior that I like to use, and this is going to sound so easy, but I'm just going to put it out here anyway. I can open my palm. Am I holding this dog because I'm helping support them and guide them into a position? Or am I grabbing this dog and restraining this dog and gripping this dog? If I have to grip this dog and restrain this dog, that's my not ready button. If I can open my palm and that dog's foot stays where it was, if that dog's tail stays where it was, if that dog's body stays where I guided it to, and I can open my palm or give them a little bit of chance to wiggle away and they choose not to, that is my start button behavior. Now, if you've been listening to the show for a while, you will be familiar with the 3 C's, but that's a dog who is calm, comfortable, and cooperative. So it all circles back to some really basic concepts. But if I'm holding a foot, let's say for nail trimming, I'm holding a foot and I'm putting the nail clippers next to that foot. Am I guiding that foot or am I actually clamping down? And I think a lot of groomers are in the habit, myself included, I used to do this a lot and it took a while for me to break the habit, tend to hold tight. We tend to. And it's going to be hard to open your palm and see if that dog is really choosing to stay there. Now, there are times when holding tight makes perfect sense. And let me tell you one of them. When I am grinding nails, I like to put some pressure on that toe and that toenail because it reduces some of the vibration going up their toe. Not because I feel like I need to restrain the dog, but because it makes it more comfortable for the dog. And one of the things that I think we forget about is this is about dogs' comfort. Now, if I release the pressure on that toe and the dog's like, ah, or the dog's trying to wiggle away, that's my I'm not ready button. Now, when you do things like this, it can feel really awkward at first. For a trainer, you're going to be like, but certainly I need to be looking at his face and the whole picture. But I want you to think about the fact that for groomers, the whole picture is not available to us. Even when we are looking at a face, we're not looking at the eyes and the expression as much as we're looking for symmetry and haircut. We're not looking for hard eye, soft eye. We're looking at the haircut. We're looking for the balance. We're trying to see something entirely different. So, when we're looking at a dog and we're trying to figure out if they're comfortable or not, what we're really doing is I want you to think about it, get a little geeky for the trainers out there. This is a tactile cue. Can I just with my hands feel if this dog's body is loose and soft? Is this dog loose or is this dog stiff? Is this dog pulling away from me or is this dog trying to be exactly where I positioned them? And how do I reward that? So trainers, that's something for you to work on. Okay, am I giving this dog the opportunity to wiggle away a little? That doesn't mean like, oh, we let go and we stop for the day. And I think sometimes that's a tough one for people. They're like, oh, give him a break. Like, you can give him a break by backing off with the clippers. You don't need to take that dog off the table and put him in a crate and start over again in 6 weeks. That's different. This is just, okay, I'll back off. Are you ready yet? Okay, let's try it again. But ready, not ready, our start button, I want you to think about how we can come up with a behavior that the dog can do that is safe. Dogs that figure out they can just wiggle a little bit to indicate that they're uncomfortable, stop trying to bite us. Simple as that. It is much safer for a dog to do a little bit of wiggle to figure out, like, okay, what if I just wiggle a little bit? Now, consent in grooming comes up a lot, and I'm going to address this too because recent discussion. I know there are a lot of groomers out there, and you may work with one, or you may know one, or maybe you have an employee who is one who's like, oh my God, I'm not going to wait for a dog to consent to grooming. All right, but I'm going to ask you the other side of the coin. Here's the other thing. You want him to let you do your job? Well, yeah, I want him to let me do your job. That's consent. What? Yeah, when he lets you do this stuff. Do you want him to let you do the things you need to do? Well, yeah. Great, then let's teach it. Oh, because I think that that's the aha moment for a lot of groomers. They're like, oh, well, why didn't anybody say it like that before? I thought it was this wishy-washy, granola crunchy, he has to think it's okay. But we're trying to teach him that it's safe and to let us do all the weird stuff and things that we as groomers need to do, or as owners, or as veterinary staff. There are a lot of things that are going to need to be done to a dog that they're never really going to understand. They don't know why we do it. Does the average dog understand why they might need eye ointment? Probably not. Maybe they do. But can we teach them how to let us do our weird stuff and things? Yeah, we can. And we can be patient, and we can teach them there's a way to say, I'm not ready. And if we listen or feel for it, like, oh, you're not ready? Does that mean that maybe they're uncomfortable, like physically at a weird angle, or need to get their balance? Because I'll tell you what, that is very often the case. When the dogs that give me just a little bit of oh, I'm kind of uncomfortable, give them a chance to get their balance or give a little bit of a different angle, and they often are different. This is a way to communicate with our dogs, and it is a very important way to communicate with our dogs. But we do need to communicate together. So groomers and trainers need to come together, and owners need to come together to come up with some solutions that will work for something like a one-person show trying to groom a dog. But let's remember that the purpose is to teach a dog that this is safe and that we can get this done. We need to get grooming done. And I think non-groomers kind of forget this, but a dog is going to have grooming needs their entire life, whether they're healthy or not, whether they feel good or not, if they're old and they have some knee problems, if they have health problems, if they're sore, they will still have grooming needs. So the time that we spend teaching them that it's safe and that there's a way to tell me you're not ready or you're uncomfortable and I will listen will serve us very well for that dog's entire lifetime. If you'd like more information, you can find me at Chrissy@happycritters.net, happycrittersdogtraining.com, or you can join the Facebook group, Creating Great Grooming Dogs podcast, or the Facebook page, Creating Great Grooming Dogs. I really look forward to hearing from you.